Welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. I think today is a great day to talk about the JASMY price set, because unless you've been living under the rock, JASMY is actually up almost as high as 20% within the last 24 hours. We are seeing a great picture being painted right across the board. If you look here on my right, we are seeing things up as high as like 30%, double figures right across the board, which also emphasizes the point which I always talk about here on the channel, that look, JASMY just moves along with the rest of the market. So when the price is also down, it's not because there is something fundamentally wrong with JASMY, but it's just the liquidity in the crypto space in general, right? So I want to be talking about the current price section here that we are seeing 20% plus for JASMY. The good thing here is that this pump is not coming as a surprise. We were really prepared for this. In my last update, I was asking the question, is JASMY gonna be pumping from here? Of course, on X, I've been posting, a lot. The last post here was saying that this is a red warning to JASMY bears, because the funding rates were looking very, very much negative, and I was expecting a quick rise in terms of like the JASMY price set, because we had seen something like this happening here with ICP Internet Computer Protocol. And if I may just say that one more time, you can see that the funding rates here for JASMY ever since 11th of October has just been negative. What this means is that a lot more people were betting on the JASMY price to fall, and even up until this point, they're still betting that the JASMY price is going to be falling. So market makers, you have to balance the books, and I think they're going to be pumping the price even a little bit higher, because that is what we were seeing with ICP Internet Computer Protocol. You can see, of course, the same phenomenon that JASMY was having, very much negative funding rates here, yet the price continued rising. Bears kept betting against the price, and the market makers continued liquidating them. So I'm thinking the same thing here may happen with the JASMY price set. We also saw pretty much the same thing here with Filecoin today. As you can see, same story, negative funding rates, and just like that, Filecoin is up as high as 99% within 24 hours. This is something that has got a market cap of like 1.5 billion, and I think right now it's close to 3 billion or anything like that. So JASMY has got a chance here, because the kind of conditions that we are in the market are kind of conducive for a quick rally towards the upside. Now, what does that really mean in terms of like the long-term view of the price action? I have no idea, but short-term, I think that it's more likely than not that JASMY can go ahead and pump a little bit much more high. So we will be looking at how high it can go. But before we start, I want to kindly ask you to help me spread the video just by delicately tapping the like button. It will tell the YouTube algorithm that yes, this may be short, but it is straight to the point, and it is exactly what you need at this point. So if you also want to be seeing more of these updates, feel free to subscribe, because I do TA on JASMY and a number of other different altcoins on a regular basis. Without me further running my mouth too much, let's get right into it. And now we see that on a daily time frame, JASMY was able to hold its support level here. I was also mentioning this in my last update, that look, in terms of like a support and resistance perspective, we have held the support and also looked at the RSI, which was looking like we were due for a bounce. The MACD had already turned also, so those were optimistic things to look forward to. Now let's get back to where we are. We are seeing that the JASMY price that is facing a little bit of a downward sloping resistance there, and I was posting about this earlier on X, saying that look, if the bears go ahead and try to short this resistance for JASMY, that will just be the fuel that JASMY needs to go ahead and break it much more violently and even push towards the upside. So that's where we are, and you can see that slowly but surely we're just peeping right above that downward sloping resistance. So we'll see what eventually happens there, but when it comes to the daily time frame, we're looking at the RSI here just trending above 50, and I think it can take a second before it gets oversold, but there is a strong chance here for JASMY to go ahead and even touch something like 2 cents, 2.1 cents, that about the main resistance for me. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves right at this point. Let's just wait and see what the battleground is looking for here, the bears versus the bulls. But currently, in my own opinion, looking at all these funding rates, open interest, and everything else, I think that it is more likely that JASMY goes ahead and pushes a little bit higher. So 2.1 cents, I think, is the highest that it can go at this point. But obviously, because the market is dynamic, we have to change our opinions as time goes on, because you can't be very much rigid. Now, one other thing that may actually be very, very optimistic is looking at the Bitcoin dominance. What we're now seeing is that the Bitcoin dominance is kind of being rejected from this, downward stopping support, which was turned into a resistance. And when we take a look at the relative strength index here, the RSI, it is very much conducive in the sense that it is looking like it's going to be headed towards the downside. This is very good for altcoins. We have been screaming about this over and over again. It hasn't happened quite yet, but should the dominance start falling from where it is right now, I mean, I would say be rest assured that JASMY also benefits from that, because this kind of things, they go in opposite direction. So we'll be waiting and trying to see closely what the Bitcoin dominance starts doing here until maybe the end of next week. Again, if it drops, continues dropping, that's good for JASMY, and we'll be hitting that 2 cents level that I'm talking about here. So one other thing that we have been talking about JASMY is that the liquidity was piled towards the upside, meaning that it was much more likely for the JASMY price to pump rather than dump, because it was very much enticing for the market makers to go ahead and take away all that liquidity. So I was looking at that heat map one more time, and it seems there is still a little bit more of liquidity up there. So it just depends on how fast the JASMY price that rises, because if it just goes on blast at like 1.2 cents thereabout, a lot of shorts will be liquidated, and that could actually result in the price going even much more higher. Another thing that we'll be looking at is, trying to see how this open interest, or at least the funding rates, change or even go much lower here for JASMY as more shorts try to power in. So it's just a wait and see, kind of a thing at this point. But I think JASMY, as I said a little bit earlier on, it has got a chance to go ahead and rip, just like what we have seen with other altcoins. I mean, Filecoin is up 100% in less than 24 hours. ICP is up as high as like almost 200% in the last 5 days. So why shouldn't JASMY go ahead and do something like that? So we'll see what eventually happens. But before I go, let me show you this amazing competition that you can take part in. There is $20,000 to be won right there. So all you have to do is go ahead and click the link that I have in the description. It will lead you to Bitunix, the exchange. And once you start depositing, trading over there, the more you trade, the bigger part of that $20,000 that you'll be able to walk away with. If you're also very much new and you've never used the exchange before, there is actually up to 400 USDT in terms of like a bonus that you can use. And of course, a newbie bootcamp challenge, which offers up to 500 USDT. So this is great altogether, but that's not all. I have another one over there that I've secured with MEXC, the exchange. And this is a share of up to $2,300. So go ahead, do the same thing. You're registering, you deposit, and then you trade to be part of, that $2,300 that they have on the table. So I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button, share the video with your friends and family, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.